and welcome to How to Deal When the Shit Gets Real podcast. I'm Rietta.
And I'm Connie, and we are two crazy cousins because our, guest, I can't even think today. Desire Waldroup is with us here, and she liked that, so I'm throwing it in there again.
Hi, everybody.
And do you want to give our guests a little intro about yourself?
Yeah, I'd be happy to tell you about myself. So I'm 30. How old am I? 33. I'm 33, about to turn 34. Oh my gosh, I keep forgetting. About to turn 34. I have lived the majority of my life as a really healthy person, actually. I was a really hardcore athlete. I even went to college on an athletic and academic scholarship. And then I got really sick my first year of college. And that's why you guys have me here, is to kind of talk about my health journey, and more specifically, one of my very rare autoimmune diagnoses, which is called primary sclerosing cholangitis, which we will call PSC because it's near impossible to say. And I'm here to share about how that affects my life directly and how it can affect other people that it surrounds on a daily basis.
I witnessed not a lot of this, but some of it. You know, we came in, I don't know, what would you say, Des, like midway through, I guess? Maybe even more towards the end?
No, I think you guys showed up pretty much towards the beginning. You guys went through a lot of it, very hands-on.
So Desiree started with, and if I say this wrong, please tell me because I'm terrible at this stuff, with ulcerative colitis. And and correct me if I'm wrong, that's kind of how the whole journey started, was from that diagnosis, and it just kind of went from there. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, that's pretty much what happened. Actually, so that's you pretty much nailed it on the head. So when I had ulcerative colitis, that's basically what pretty much ended like my athletic career and being able to attend school. I had ulcerative colitis, and I went kind of like moderately diagnosed for about 7 years because I had such terrible health insurance. I had terrible health insurance because I was sick prior to that. So nobody really wanted to pick me up for insurance wise. And so when I say I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, it was pretty much doctors putting me like in test groups for placebos or possible experimental drugs and things like that. And then finally, about after 7 years, I got really formally diagnosed and started actually receiving treatment for it. And it was just so far progressed that there was just no turning back. And that's where pretty much you entered my life for the most part, was around that time, which was like 2014, 2015. So basically, my first year of college, I found out that I had stage 3 cervical cancer. And my immune system just got shot from like all the treatment and everything like that. And then I ended up getting ulcerative colitis. And the reason why I bring up the previous cancer was because when I went through some surgeries further down the line, I ended up seeing a fertility specialist to see if Cody and I could even try to have kids with all my medical stuff. And she had to check out, my cervical history, my cervical cancer history. And she believes that I didn't truly have ulcerative colitis, that I had radiation colitis from my radiation treatment from my cervical cancer. So it's very interesting to learn these things like 10 years down the road. Will we ever know the answer? No, but it's a plausible story. So anyway, I had ulcerative colitis or radiation colitis for almost a decade. And then it got really bad. I was so severe that I ended up going to the emergency room. They had to do an emergency total colectomy on me. And most people don't know what that is. A total colectomy is where they have to remove your large intestine and your colon and your rectum. But with that, they also had to remove my appendix. And because it was so severe that the large intestine was like infused to my appendix in my left ovary, I believe. It like basically was bowling around my body. And so I had emergency surgery, and it was pretty scary. And then I had to have 2 follow-up surgeries from that over the course of a year. And so they rebuilt everything. So it's really, really badass. I think I was like really angry with westernized medicine for so long because they just were like loading me with steroids and putting a Band-Aid on my body falling apart when I needed major surgery, right? And so when I got done with my final surgery, when they rebuilt everything, they took 6 millimeters of my small intestine, and they rebuilt my large intestine and my colon and my rectum out of that. So like,
wow.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. It's so impressive. And I had no idea this was even an option, let alone I had to have it done. And so I had the surgery, it's successful. And then later that year, after I was recovering, I kept having liver pain, and we just kind of coughed it up too. Well, I just went through a ton of surgeries. My body's still recovering. And I kept ending up in the emergency room, and they thought I had hepatitis because I was like full blown jaundice, and my liver enzymes were like through the roof. For liver enzymes, the normal human being for ALT and AST, which is what they look at for people with liver issues, are typically under, if I remember correctly, under like 30 points each. And I was like in the 900s.
Whoa.
Way over.
Way like ridiculous. Like they kept moving me from room to room, like in isolation. They were like in hazmat suits. I mean, it was nuts, right? So that's how I found I had primary sclerosing cholangitis. It's a very, very rare autoimmune condition that there's such little research done on it because it's so hard to research. But they do find a link between people that have like ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease, that they do end up getting PSC. It's very, very common. Those just kind of go hand in hand. So that's pretty much how I got it.
For our listeners, can you describe what PSC is?
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
For your body and stuff like that. So when we're talking about it, they know what it is, and they don't have to Google it.
Yeah. And please feel free to Google it, because it's easy to find information. It's all pretty much, all the information you'll find is pretty consistent throughout the web. But PSC is basically an autoimmune disease which causes inflammation in your body. So the inflammation is specific to the bile ducts that try to produce, all the fluid in the bile that goes through your body and through your liver. So my bile ducts keep getting inflamed, so they keep getting congested. So I can't filter out all the toxins and everything like that, all the bad stuff. So it just builds up. So think of like a pipe, and all the hair just keeps going down the pipe, and it gets built up, and you can't do anything about it, right? And all of a sudden your pipe just overfills and you have this major issue. That's basically what PSC is.
That's a great way to explain it, because it makes it very visualized. Like people can actually visualize what's happening to your liver.
Oh yeah. And I see the hair that my husband takes out of the drain.
Yes. So about every 3 to 6 months, I get these stents. So these tiny, tiny tubes, hollow tubes, put into my bile ducts to help that flow go through, to try to postpone the cirrhosis of my liver. So basically, when you can't get that bile through, you get a cirrhosis liver, which most people are very familiar with substance abuse, mainly alcohol. Most people think of with a cirrhosis liver. Yeah, it's a trip. It is a trip.
Well, the reason why I was like, go freaking figure, somebody close to me, I'm not going to say her name, but I married into her family, has to get those stints all the time because all the time.
Yeah.
So, I'm like, that makes a little sense now.
Yeah.
Like after you just described that, I was like, so that's why.
Yeah.
See, sorry.
I know.
No, I was like,
no, you're fine.
Sorry.
So it helped Connie understand more now about somebody else in her family. See, it's already coming full circle.
Yes, it did. Well, because she keeps on saying that there's no dietary changes necessary. She's not doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
There's no reason this is happening.
Yeah.
Now I don't believe that at all and understand completely.
Well, there could be, because like when I was diagnosed with my PSC, I did drink. I wasn't like a big drinker. I drank like socially, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then when I found out I had this liver condition, I'm like, I might want to slow down on the booze, you know what I mean? And the greasy food and the fatty food and the processed food. So that's basically what I did. But I will say,
describing her whole lifestyle right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So she could have like liver cirrhosis from substance abuse and poor, diet, or she could have PSC, and then those things are just amplifying. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Mm-hmm. They haven't figured it out yet. They might have to do a bone marrow test, actually.
Bone marrow test. That's something.
Well, it's because it's affecting her blood. Her blood is disappearing and they don't know why. They're two separate issues. They just keep on putting in the stents and nobody's putting a name to it. And I'm like, okay. Or they are telling her what it is and she doesn't tell anybody.
Right.
It's because we're not in there with the room with her.
Right. Yeah.
But, and then the like other issue was that she keeps on losing blood.
Wow.
And they don't know where it's going.
That's insane.
They're like, your blood count is going down and you're not bleeding. So yeah, she's a hot mess and we're just gonna move on because this is about you and not my mother-in-law. But when you guys are talking about it, I was like, oh my God, mind blown, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I will say, as a person that has a liver disease, it's really hard to talk about it without people assuming that it's from substance abuse. I think that's the first place that everyone's brain goes to is, oh, you probably drank a lot or did drugs or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, trust me, no. But it's really frustrating because with PSC, the life expectancy of somebody with PSC without a liver transplant is 9 to 18 years. And so that's probably the scariest part of PSC. And let's say if I were to get a liver transplant, which I am on the liver transplant list in UCLA, they have what they call a MELD score, MELD. Don't ask me what it stands for. I don't remember. But basically they score you. They take you through like insane amount of tests and they see how worthy you are of needing a liver compared to everybody else on the list, right? Like how severe is your liver cirrhosis, right? It's so frustrating because people with an autoimmune disease, the way they score us, we get so much lower than people that abuse their liver.
Really?
It's so sad.
Crazy.
That is so crazy.
Yeah. It means the system's messed up.
The system is majorly messed up. And when I got put on the list with UCLA, actually a year ago today, I got the call from UCLA saying, hey, do you want to come down and get tested for a liver transplant? And it was like, I got the goosebumps right now because it was such it's the call that everybody wants that needs an organ transplant is, hey, we want to meet you and get you tested. So that was a year ago today. That was really cool. But so good timing, Rihanna.
Yeah.
That's why we picked today.
Yeah, we knew. And since you're talking about the liver transplant, Desiree and I had talked about this before, and she was telling me about all the benefits of live donor and all of that. And I'm on the list to see if I can maybe help Des out. We'll see. I don't know what's going to happen. So can you talk about why that's better, more important, which is why?
Yes, absolutely. I would love to talk about that because that's pretty much like the conversation I love to have the most because most people don't know about this. So people like me that score really low on that MELD score for so long. So I could go potentially till I'm literally in the hospital about to pull the plug. Yeah, they're going to be like, okay, now let's look for a liver, right? So a living donor is someone that can donate their organs while they're still alive. Pretty self-explanatory. So those are the people that are most beneficial to people like me that score really low, but need it for a quality of life change. Out of all the organs, I guess, that could fail, I'm glad it's the liver because it's the only organ that can regenerate itself. So basically a living donor is somebody that's super healthy. Basically what UCLA told me is they're going to look for Superman. So if you're not healthy, they're not even going to consider you. And I know you're healthy, Rihanna, and I know you're like sitting there like, so, anyway, so they're basically looking for Superman because it's such a high risk surgery. If something were to happen to a living donor while they're giving part of their body, that's a really serious thing if they lose their life, right? So they have to make sure that person can handle that surgery. But what a living donor does is they can donate typically about 30% of their liver and give it to someone that needs it, like me. And then they can, put that in my body, and both the liver would regenerate in my body, ideally, and back in the donor's body, ideally. And it's actually really, really fast. I think it's something like for the donor, I think it regenerates in a matter of weeks, maybe months, if I remember correctly. And then for the patient that needs the the donated organ. It can take a little bit longer, but it's necessary pretty much for somebody with like me that has an autoimmune condition that it's really hard to get a cadaver donor. There's like, you can go through, I told Greta the website, I think it's livingdonor.com. I think that's what it is, or .org. And you can sign up to donate different parts of your body, but it's such a great thing, a blessing that many people can do for others that they don't realize it's an option and that people are relying on. So I'm one of those people that are pretty much going to rely on a living donor because I probably won't get a cadaver donation, is what I'm led to believe.
Desiree actually had me watch a really amazing Netflix thing. So if people out there are more interested, Netflix has a TV series called The Surgeon's Cut. And I believe it was the 3rd episode that was about living donors. So if anybody out there is listening is interested, it's actually a really great episode. The lady that does the surgery, I don't remember her name right now, but she's like 70 years old.
Yeah.
And she's like the queen of liver transplants. So it's really cool.
Yeah, she's amazing. I actually considered, after I saw the documentary, I told Cody about it, and I said, I'm actually considering going up to San Francisco because I'm in Southern California. I'm like, San Francisco is easy. We'll take a trip up there, and I know UCLA will take me back for post-op care for like the next like 6 months and stuff like that to make sure everything is fine. But I've actually considered like going up to San Francisco and meeting her. I'm actually very, very interested in meeting her. And with Cody's job in my husband, he's in the Marine Corps, he's active duty. That plays a huge factor in what we're looking at for my care, because we need to make sure that he's stationed somewhere that I can receive, adequate treatment, right? And especially when we're talking about liver transplant, we got to make sure that I can be on the liver transplant list for every single hospital in the world, in the country at the same time. And they can call me and say that they're ready, but I have to be within a close proximity. So I could go to another state or another country for an organ, but we have to keep in consideration Cody's job and like, can he go with me? You know what I mean? Because I can't do it by myself. So there's a lot of factors, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's interesting. So with that said, a liver transplant isn't just another operation. It's a very, very high risk operation. And it's still not a cure for PSC. I will still have PSC even with the new liver. And we could potentially, the PSC can infect that liver. And there's often patients that get a liver transplant and they need another transplant down the road. And when you get these liver transplants, the average life expectancy is 5 years after that. So it's not even like a huge, amount. Now, don't get me wrong. There's people that I know in support groups that have lived 20, 30 years after their transplant and have had a very, fruitful life. But it's something to consider. Is my quality of life right now going to be like, do I want to continue this? Or do I want to risk it for the surgery to have a potential better life, or just stick with what I got so I don't risk it? Because it's a big deal.
Yeah. For sure.
And that's a hard decision.
It's an incredibly tough decision. And I haven't made that decision yet. I've been diagnosed for 3 years now, and I still haven't made that decision. I'm on the list. And because my score is so low, I feel that it's going to be a while till I have to make that decision. And so right now, it's about trying to optimize my quality of life right now. So I spend a lot of time during my week at like different types of therapy to try to make my quality of life as good as it can get.
Well, I mean, you look great.
Thanks. I will say,
you're doing a good job.
Thanks. There's a couple of things that I'll say for that. One, I do a really good job of hair and makeup because if I truthfully don't have my hair and makeup done, if you know me, like Rietta knows me, if she saw me without it can be a little intimidating. You know what I mean? It's taken a toll on my body. It really, really has. Mm-hmm. But also that gets on the topic of invisible illnesses. You know what I mean? A lot of people don't think a lot of people look at me and they think, oh, she's a healthy human being. They have no idea like the chaos inside my body. You know what I mean? So it's a great lesson for a lot of people, including myself. You know what I mean? Keeps me in check. Why is that person parked in a handicapped stall? You have no idea what's going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's pretty much the most of the transplant information. And about PSC specifically, I think.
So for our listeners out there, what life advice would you give to them?
Really think about the person you want to be, who you want to be. it's easy to get caught up in the mundane. It's easy to get caught up in our current culture. And I guess my biggest takeaway would be to really focus on what's important to you. You know what I mean? And that's going to be different for everyone. But I just really would say, like, do some really deep, and I know it sounds cliche, but do some deep soul searching and start writing down what's important to you and focus on that. You know what I mean? And give that as much attention as you possibly can, because like I said, it's another cliche statement to make, but you never know when life is going to be gone. You know what I mean? And, you know, my family is very well aware of that. They're very, very well aware that I can be gone before them when it should be the other way around. And I just wouldn't want anybody to have life fly past them without thinking that they hoped that they were somebody else or could have done something differently. You know what I mean? So I guess just look inside and ask yourself, who do you want to be and what mark do you want to leave on the people that are in your life?
That's why we're here.
Mm-hmm.
I think the biggest story that I want to leave behind is love. You know, I'm big on love and I'm big on patience and I'm big on forgiveness. And I think that's the legacy I want to leave behind, you know, when people think about me.
I told Jackson I was interviewing today and he's like, I miss Miss Desiree. Tell her I love her.
Oh my gosh. By the way, so Jackson gave my husband Cody an R2D2 candy dispenser 3 or 4 years ago. Okay, we have had 2 different sets of nightstands. It's still on his nightstand.
I love it.
Cody dispenses a little nerd candy like once a week.
I love it.
Oh, It's the little things, man.
That's exactly what it is. You know what I mean? I think when we think of movies like that have like bucket lists and stuff, you know, when you have like a terminal diagnosis or, you know, your world is ending, you think that you're going to have this like huge list of things that you want to do. And it probably is true for many people. Like there are definitely things that I want to do. Like Cody and I have been talking about going to visit his genealogy and go to Ireland. And, you know, we want to go to Scotland and we want to go to Spain and things like that. I want to go to Cuba to visit my roots. Those are all things that I definitely want to do. And I think that I would absorb those trips much differently than I would have before this diagnosis. You know what I mean? I think that I have a much bigger appreciation for things. I have a higher appreciation for just like this. It is so weird. I'm just like, I see a flower growing. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's the world, you know? So I think that is like my bucket list of, you know, places to go. I would love to have a family with Cody if we can. It probably won't be biological, but we're okay with that. You know, we want to foster, we want to adopt. And I think that those are all things that keep me going every single day.
We'll definitely go to Ireland and Scotland with you because those are on our list too. So let's go.
Yes.
Woohoo! Girls trip.
Plus Cody.
Well, I was going to say couples trip.
Yeah, couples trip, fine.
Couples trip. Yeah, couples trip.
You're saying I have to travel with my husband? I travel with him all the time.
You haven't seen Cody and Kyle together. Once you see Cody and Kyle together, you will understand why they both have to go.
It's a true bromance.
Yes.
I would say they're yin and yang. They definitely complement each other big time.
Aww.
And they're very similar personalities. Cody's a lot taller, but their personalities are very, very similar.
Yes, they are. They very much are. Actually, I was just talking to Cody about it because when I told him that you know, had mentioned wanting to do this segment, this interview, I was talking to him about one of the things that was important to me throughout the whole my health journey is making sure that Cody's taken care of too. So Cody is my primary caregiver, like legally on my like medical paperwork. My father is my secondary. And as my primary caregiver, it can be incredibly draining, emotionally, physically, mentally, especially when that person is your spouse, I think. You know what I mean? Like the person that you chose to love is falling apart. It's hard. So my biggest thing for Cody was I wanted to make sure that he was taken care of too. And so Rietta and Kyle, you guys were actually a big part of that. When we had my surgeries, every Sunday was Cody's decompress day. It was like Cody's day off. Rietta would come in and make sure I was good. And she would hang out with me, and the guys would watch football and drink their, what did Kyle used to make for them to drink?
I think they were making old fashions.
Old fashions.
Nice.
I'm pretty sure they were making old fashions.
Old fashions. And that was Cody's day where he could decompress and have the day off. And so, Cody has this like huge commute to work every single day. And every like 3 or 4 weeks, I'll check in like, are you sure you're okay with the commute? We can sell the house. We can move. And same thing applies with him being my caregiver. I just have to check in with him and make sure he's okay, because Cody is, if you meet Cody, he's such an incredible human being. Like he's so nurturing and so attentive and caring. And so so a lot of people, he's fiercely intelligent. And so when a lot of people in his personal life will lean on Cody for support, so his life can get very heavy. And so it's important for him to be able to unload.
Yeah. And since you're talking about Cody, and it was actually one of my questions, because I don't even really know, what do you guys do either together or just like you were talking about to not let your marriage fall to the wayside?
Yeah, it's work. It is a lot of work. I am not going to sugarcoat it. It's a lot of communication. Cody and I are huge on communication. And, a lot of people say, marriage is 50-50. It's not. We all know marriage is 100% from each person. But when you have somebody that's chronically, ill, there are days where I can't give 100%. And there are days where he can't give 100%. And that's when we pick up the slack. Some days it's 80-20. But early on into my health journey, when things really, really started going south fast, I posted on Instagram and Facebook a quote, there's no perfect marriage. It's just two imperfect people unwilling to give up on each other. And Cody told me that when he read that quote, he's like, holy shit, that's true. And he told me that that's when he decided that he refused to give up on me and give up on us. And he was going to do whatever it took. Yeah. And I mean, this was when we were 29 years old. I mean, we were going through things that people go through when they're like in their 70s, 80s, if not at all. Right. And so he's been incredible. He's been a great advocate, and he's been a great husband throughout the whole thing. So I try as much as I can. Like I took him out on a date on last Friday. And so you just got to keep trying. You know what I mean? I think that's the biggest thing, is making sure you take care of the people that are caring for you.
Absolutely. I mean, we all can do that regardless of sickness or not.
Yes.
Making sure we're taking care of each other.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think that it's easy to get caught up in roles, right? Like the husband should do this, or the wife should do that, or, whatever the relationship is. And I think it's important to make sure that everybody's flexible.
Yeah, you just have to do what needs to get done. It shouldn't be about whether, this is what you should do because you're a girl.
Right. Yeah.
This just needs to get done today.
Right. Yeah. And it's interesting because my diagnoses, my health issues are not glamorous. I had to deal with a lot of poo and a lot of vomiting and a lot of really, really sensitive topics that people don't talk about. All that flies out the window. When I woke up out of my surgery, I had an ostomy bag, and I used to do courtesy flushes, still into our marriage. And then I have this ostomy bag, and I'm just I need him to literally lift me from the floor to be able to empty my ostomy bag. It was okay, this is our life now. Leaving very little to the imagination. This is what we're doing.
Yep. So, and she made all sorts of different noises, and Desiree even named her
Mona the Stoma. Actually, Cody named her.
Was it Cody? Oh, I love it.
Cody
I love it even more now.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. So yeah, it's been a really, really trying journey. It really has. But I would not change it for anything, because we are very, very solid in a lot of ways that I'm thankful for. You know what I mean? And it's interesting because when I had the PSC diagnosis, Cody was deployed.
Oh gosh.
And yeah. And so I was really, really nervous because I just gotten done with like all my major surgeries, and he was gearing up for deployment. I was like, I don't know if I can do this on my own. I was very, very codependent on him. And so he deployed. My doctors said, he can go. And so, and the military said, he's gonna go. So I said, okay. So he went, and then I was in and out of the hospital a lot while he was deployed. And then we got very, very close to Cody's command. They're amazing people at the time, and we still are, but he's not in the same command. Really insulting. They're not cool anymore. Anyways, his captain's wife, she was very, very well in tune with what was going on. And so she kept asking me, like, do you want me to see if Cody can call you? And I said, no, because I don't want to concern him. I don't want to worry him. I knew that he would not be able to come home from deployment. So there was no point in stressing him out. Right. Mm-hmm. And so finally I got into the hospital in the emergency room, and that's when I got my diet. That's when I was like really, really bad. And she texted me and she said, are you ready yet? And I said, do it. And so she called her husband or texted him, Chuck, and Cody was on the phone with me floating in the middle of the Pacific, like calling you from a satellite phone within like an hour. And so I had to tell Cody over the phone. And that's like a really hard conversation to have with your spouse, is to say like, look, I just got this diagnosis, and from what I understand, it's terminal, and I don't know how long I have.
Yeah, that's really rough.
Really rough.
I can just picture Cody, because Cody, like you talked about, he is such a nurturer, and yeah, he's a badass Marine, but Kyle's the same way too. Like they have this badass front, but like underneath, especially when it comes to your wife, like this,
it's like a big sensitive teddy bear.
Yeah, exactly. So I can just like, I literally can see Cody's face like in my mind.
Yeah. It was interesting because Cody likes to be very stoic. And so over the phone, he was trying to be stoic for me. Like, only like one of us. Yeah, exactly. Like only one of us can be weak at a time, and that's not going to be me. You know what I mean? I'm going to be strong for you, type of a thing. And so he got off the phone call, and after I told him, and then he called me back like a few minutes later and said, I'm coming home. And I was like, that's impossible. The Marine Corps does not do that. Mm-hmm. And so he told me that his command said, there's no point for you being here. This is very important, obviously, and we're sending you home. So when Cody came home, I was in the hospital. So it's just like, with homecomings, like I understand your brother's, is he still in the Marine Corps? Your brother?
Mine? No.
Yeah. Oh, okay. And, I'm sure you understand. And
yes,
Rieta knows. Yeah. Homecomings, you're like, okay, I got it. Everything has to be perfect, right? You want everything to be as smooth transition as possible. And it was the opposite of that. Like he had to get a ride home from someone on duty to the hospital. And it was just, you don't ever want that situation ever,
Yeah.
And so it was rough. It was really rough. And so he had to sleep in a chair. They didn't even have like a cot for him. He slept in a chair for like a few days while they were still figuring things out.
And he is a large human. So a large human in a chair does not work very well.
Not good.
No.
6'3", 6'4", 220. Yeah, he's a big dude. Yeah. It's been interesting because when all my health started really, deteriorating, I ended up in the emergency room at the University of California, Irvine, at their ER. And because they're a learning institute, that was probably like the biggest blessing I could have ever had, because I think at one point I counted 26 doctors, physicians, fellows, and students. They were like funneling out of the room into the hallway because I was like this like crazy like medical anomaly that they all wanted to touch me. They're like, I want to see her. It was so funny. And so it was really, really neat. I always tell people when I decide to share my health journey publicly, I always tell people, go to a learning institute, go to your college that has really good, standards for medicine, because you don't just have one person got their medical, license 30 years ago. You have a bunch of people that are trying to, figure it out, and they're excited and have new techniques and new medicine and new technology. So that is my biggest recommendation for everybody, is to always go to a learning institute, because you have so many hands on you. They're anxious to fix you and figure you out.
Not only are they anxious, like they have all the information like so fresh in their mind that they're like, oh,
yes.
And they're like, learned about that 5 months ago. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. They're all like, I'll be the doctor of your dreams.
Yeah. It's really, really cool. I'm like, yes, you can touch my stomach. Yeah. No, it's really, really neat. And then, even from the ulcerative colitis or potential radiation colitis, but we're going to call it ulcerative colitis because that's what I was formally diagnosed with. That led to PSC, and that led to having Crohn's, because now my large intestine, I'll always have the effects of ulcerative colitis. And then now that affected my lower GI, which is Crohn's. And then that ended up translating into gastroparesis, which is basically my stomach is paralyzed for the most part. Like my food doesn't digest as quickly as it should. And then I end up with another autoimmune diagnosis called MALS, which is median arcuate ligament syndrome.
So what is working is really the question.
Yeah, I know. Okay,
sorry, I don't mean to make a joke, but I was just
please do. Please do. We have so many jokes. Oh my gosh.
So but MALS is the one that you just had the surgery for, right? Where they released the tendon. Mm-hmm. That's the MALS, right? Okay. I'm trying to remember all this.
Yeah, they didn't release a tendon, but they released a ligament.
Ligament. Okay. I knew it was something.
Yeah. So basically what happens is the celiac artery is the artery that pumps all the blood to your like upper GI organs, so like stomach and liver and spleen and stuff like that. That was getting choked out. I think I had like 20% blood flow. So all my organs were like, help me, I need blood,
you need that stuff to like survive.
Yeah.
It's kind of important.
Important. Yeah. You can't digest food. No big deal. Like, okay.
Yeah, exactly. So they went in and they cut the ligaments that were choking out that celiac artery. And then they cauterized the nerve endings around it to help alleviate the pain around that area. I'll have that the rest of my life. It can come back. The artery can go back to like collapsed position or things like that. So we just got to keep an eye on it now. But the surgery was in December and we considered it a huge success. We saw this really, really cool 3D MRI. I mean, it is really neat to look at. And we saw the before imaging and after, and it is completely flowing. So a lot of the issues I'm still having is just residual. There's just so much that has gone through my body. You know what I mean? Like,
so how many surgeries is that now? Do you know off the top of your head?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think I'm at like 8. Since 2014. No, 15. Wow. Since 2015. I think I'm at 8. And actually, so I was filling out the EFMP paperwork for people that are civilians. EFMP is the paperwork that we fill out. It ensures that my husband cannot get stationed somewhere that I can't get medical health care that I need, right? Mm-hmm. And so on the paper, it asked me, I should really have had it with me, asked me how many times I had made visits to the ICU, hospital, ER, outpatient, and hospital in the last calendar year. So I counted for 2020, and this is just specific to my diagnoses. This isn't like gyno visit, urgent care for an ear infection, right? Mm-hmm. I was at the doctor's 4 days a week, every single week in 2020.
Whoa.
Intense.
That was really intense. And so that was kind of like an awakening. I just did this all last week. And this was like a huge awakening for me granted we were in a pandemic, you know what I mean? Like things are very, very, very different, but where has my last year been, in doctors and hospitals? So I'm like on a fast track to get my life back because my quality of life is really, really lacking. And so I want to be able to I want to go on a hike. I want to travel. You know what I mean? There's so many things that I want to do that right now I'm very, very limited about to do. You know what I mean? There are things that I've been gifted back from these diseases with surgery, but there are a lot of things I'm limited to as well. So
had a bed permanently, like with your name on it. Like, this is Desiree. Sorry, we can't give it out.
So I have so many jokes. My sister Liz says I should have like a punch card, like from like hospital visits.
Every 8th visit, you get a free one.
at my primary care doctor, we joked I have a parking spot.
There you go.
And the other day, my primary care doctor was going through my files and she goes, I need to get these tabbed to go through all your stuff. I'm like, I can do it when I'm here, my IV drip. I'm like, just give me the tabs and tell me what you want. And she looked at me, she's like, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it that way. I'm like, no, I can do this. Like, give me something to do.
Give me something
and
to
then
do. I'm
get
sitting
the
here.
Patient of the Month award, from then on.
No kidding. Oh my gosh. So funny.
Deal when shit gets real. You've heard from the lovely Desiree. Hit us up on all of our social medias. We're now on YouTube. Email us if you want to be a guest, and have a great day.